Devarim.
I'd just like to say that one of the wonderful advantages of Zoom is that, unlike in the shul, where just the reader of the Torah can see the scroll, the whole congregation will be able to follow from the handwritten scroll on parchment, which I think is wonderful.
Another appropriate part of this opening words of Deuteronomy is Moses says, the end of this section that we're reading this morning, God tells Moses, you have to choose yourself wise, discerning, experienced men and appoint them as your leaders and heads. For these people will endure the burden of all your trouble and your bickering. So I thought very appropriate passage for our new chair, the new head of our congregation, Ben Grassman. That's why I asked him to read the Haftarah, which prophesies doom and destruction. Okay, now I'm going to ask Fiona perhaps to read the English translation before we change the angle of the camera.
These are the words that Moses spoke to the children of Israel east of the Jordan River in the Arava desert opposite Suf, between Paran, Tophel, Laban, Hazarot, and Dizahab. It takes 11 days to travel from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by Mount Seir. On the first day of the 11th month in the 40th year, Moses spoke to the children of Israel about everything that the Eternal had commanded him concerning them. This took place after the defeat of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who lived in the Ashtarot at Edrei. East of the Jordan River in the land of Moab, Moses began to expound this law. The Eternal One spoke to us in Horeb. The Eternal said, you have been at this mountain long enough. Break camp, get going, and proceed to the hill country of the Amorites and all the nearby places in the Arava desert, the highlands, the foothills, the Negev, the coastal plains, all of the land of the Canaanites, and Lebanon as far as the great river, the Euphrates. Look, I've given you the land that lies ahead. Go in and possess the land that I, the Eternal, promised to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as well as to their descendants. I also told you at that time that I won't be able to sustain you on my own. The Eternal One, your God, greatly multiplied your numbers, and today you are like the stars in the sky. May Eternal, the God of your ancestors, increase your numbers 1,000 times more, and may he bless you as he promised you. How can I bear the burden of you and your bickering all by myself? Choose for yourselves wise and discerning men, known to your tribes, and appoint them as your leaders. You answered by saying that this plan is a good thing. Right, slight delay while we readjust. Whoops. Hang on a minute, David. Is that the whole of it?
Yamod Avraham Pesach ben Yisrael Likro HaTorah.
And can we see the scroll?
So are you asking if we can see it clearly?
Yeah.
We can see, I don't think we can see the text. We can see the scroll, but I don't think we can see it clearly enough
Oh, what a shame.
In detail.
Can I just try once more? I just think it's such a wonderful thing, if we can. If it's like a step more than we can do it, sure. How's that?
I mean, we can make out that there are words on the parchment. I don't know if anyone could.
Oh, that's about it. Okay.
Who might be happy seeing that?
Put it back where it was.
Put it where it was.
Please.
Off you go, Peter.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamelach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher baka banu b'kol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. אלה הדברים אשר דיבר משה על כל ישראל בעבר הירדן במדבר ויעמו סוף בין פרן ובין תופל ולבן והצעירות ודיזהב עשה יום מחורב דרך השעיר עד קדש פניה ויהי ב40 שנה 12 חודש באחד לחודש דיבר משה בני ישראל ככל אשר ציווה אדוני אותו עליהם. אחרי הכותו עד סיחון מלך האמורי אשר יושב בחשבון ואת עוג מלך הבשן אשר יושב באסתרות בעת ראי בעבר הירדן בארץ מואב. הואיל משה בעת התורה הזאת לאמור אדוני אלוהינו דיבר אלינו בחורף לאמור לא לכם שבט בחר הזה פני וסעו לכם ובואו האמורי על כל שכניו בערבה ובשפלה ובנגב ובחוף הים בארץ הכנעני והלבנון עד נהר הגדול נחל פרת ונתתי לפניכם את הארץ ורשו את הארץ אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב לתת להם ולזרעם אחריהם. ואומר עליכם בעת ההיא לאמור לא אוכל לבדי שאת אתכם אדוני אלוהיכם ירבה אתכם והנכם היום ככוכבי השמיים לרוב אדוני אלוהי אבותיכם יוצא עליהם ככם 1000 פעמים ויברך אתכם כאשר דיבר לכם איך אעשה לבדי תורתכם ומעשיכם וליבכם הבו לכם אנשים חכמים ונבונים וידועים לשבטיכם ואשימם בראשיכם ותענו אותי ותאמרו כל הדבר אשר דיברת לעשות.
Is it possible just to show the scroll?
Peter, can you say the final blessing?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher notan lanu Torat emet. V'chai olam l'tabatorcheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yes, Shekoah.
Can I just show the scroll close up if it's possible? It's just so beautiful to think that those words have been written out, every single word, copied from generation to generation by a scribe. It takes about a year. And there's such, the lettering, Hebrew lettering is so beautifully done. So, yeah. Right.
Before Ben reads the Haftarah, I don't know if you can get the screen share of the Haftarah ready, please, Ben.
I'm gonna elevate. Shall I address it?
Just a few words before Ben reads the blessing. Isaiah lived in the 8th century before the Christian era. And as I said, it's vision chazon of the future destruction of Jerusalem 200 years later. So he didn't live to see that by the Babylonian after a siege in 586 before the Christian era. Babylonians entered Jerusalem, they burnt the city and destroyed Solomon's temple. Isaiah did witness the fall of the northern kingdom of Israel at that time, 721, before the Christian era, destruction by the Assyrians. And the message of the prophecy of doom and destruction that's always read on the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av is that the destruction was caused because of the Israelites' own sin, religious hypocrisy, faithlessness to the religion of their ancestors. So who's to blame for what's going to happen? Not them, not the Assyrians, but we ourselves are to blame for what comes upon us. Over to you, Ben. Ben? Are you unmuted?
Thank you. Yeah, so I think I am now. So it's nice you set such a low bar for me being chair of the shul, that as long as we don't all get slaughtered by the Assyrians, then it's above the expectation that you've set. So it's good. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ra'asa v'divreihem ana'amarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher haTorah v'Moshe avdo of Yisrael amo of Invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. This is the vision that Amos' son Isaiah had about Judah and Jerusalem during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Listen, you heavens, and let the earth pay attention, because the Eternal One has spoken. I reared children and brought them into adulthood, but then they rebelled against me. The ox knows its owner, and the donkey its master's feeding trough, but Israel doesn't know, and my people don't understand. O you sinful nation, you people burdened down by iniquity, you offspring of those who keep practicing what is evil, you corrupt children. They have abandoned the Eternal, they have despised the Holy One of Israel. In their estrangements, they have walked away from me. Why will you still be struck down? Why will you continue to rebel? Your whole head is sick, and your whole heart is faint. From the sole of your foot to the top of your head, there's no soundness evidence, only bruises, sores, and festering wounds that haven't been cleaned out, bandaged, or treated with oil. Your country lies desolate, your cities have been incinerated. Before your very eyes, enemies are devouring your land. They brought devastation onto it, while the land is overthrown by enemies. The daughter of Zion is left abandoned, like a booth in a vineyard, like a hut in a cucumber field, or like a city under siege. If the Eternal One of heaven armies had left a few survivors, we would be like Sodom, we would be like Gomorrah. Listen to what the Eternal One says, you rulers of Sodom, and pay attention to the teachings of our God, you people of Gomorrah. How do your voluminous sacrifices benefit me? The Eternal One is asking. I've had enough of burnt offerings of rams and the fat of well-fed beasts. I don't enjoy the blood of bulls, lambs, or goats. When you come to present yourself in my presence, who has required you to trample on my courts? Stop bringing useless offerings. Incense is detestable to me, as are your new moon, Sabbaths, and calling of convocations. I cannot stand iniquity within a solemn assembly. As for your new moons and your appointed festivals, I abhor them. They've become a burden to me. I've grown weary of carrying that burden. When you spread out your hands in prayer, I'll hide my eyes from you. Even though you pray repeatedly, I won't listen. Your hands are full of blood, your fingers drenched with iniquity. Wash yourselves and make yourselves clean. Remove your evil behavior from my presence. Stop practicing what is evil. Learn to practice what is good. Seek justice. Alleviate oppression. Defend orphans in court and plead the widow's case. Please come and let's reason together, implores the Eternal One. Even though your sins are like scarlet, they'll be white like snow. Though they're like crimson, they'll be like wool. If you're willing and obedient, you'll eat the best that the land produces. But if you refuse and rebel, you'll be devoured by the sword, because the Eternal has spoken. How the faithful city has become a whore, she who used to be filled with justice. Righteousness used to reside within her, but now only murderers live there. Your silver has become dross, your best wine is diluted with water. Your companions of thieves, all of them are lovers of bribes and are runners after gifts. They don't bring justice to orphans, and the widow's case never comes up for review in their courts. Therefore, this is what the God of the heavenly armies, the one who is Israel's mighty one, declares. Now I'll get relief from my enemies and avenge myself on my foes. When I turn my attention to you, I'll refine your dross as in a furnace. I'll remove all your alloy. Let me restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Afterwards, you'll be called the righteous city and the faithful city of Zion. Zion shall be redeemed by justice, and her repentant ones by righteousness. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, shokol ha'olamim, tzaddik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ha'osei, ha'mdaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav, emet v'tzedek.
Can you continue? Al HaTorah? Ben?
For the Torah, for the privilege of worship, for the prophets, and this Shabbat day, which you, eternal God, have given us for holiness and rest, for honor and beauty, for all these we offer thanks. May all the living come to praise your name forever. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Baruch atah Adonai, Makadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Yesha Koach, Ben. That was a great achievement, not just reading the translation and reading the blessing, but also manipulating the screen share text as well.
Tasting at the same
So
time.
only women could do lots of different things at once. Well done, Ben. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom, justice, tolerance, and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Amen.
Amen. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders, its members, and all who come to the synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us. Heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community, friendship, renewal of purpose, and hope, deeper understanding of our heritage, a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed. May we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
Amen.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and its citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its citizens, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and at peace with their neighbors, and so cause to come true once more the ancient vision, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'davar Adonai mirushalayim.
Amen.
Yachalelu et
Shem
Shem
Adonai,
Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodu al eretz v'shamayim, v'yarem keren li'amo, shehila l'chol hatzitav, lifnei Yisrael am karov. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Jump forward a few pages, please, and to Kilekatov. That's it. Kilekatov natati lachem, natati ahal todovu, eis chaim hi lamachazike ba. Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha, Shalom. Yameinu kagedem, Yameinu kagedem. Well, this fast of Tisha B'Av tonight and tomorrow is the conclusion of a period. It's the conclusion of the Ben HaMetzarim, the 3 weeks, which very observant Jews regard as a period of semi-mourning, extending from the 17th of Tammuz until the 9th of Av. So again, if you're strictly Orthodox, during these 3 weeks, semi-mourning, no weddings, no music, and no haircuts, Ben. So I won't talk any more about Tisha B'Av, but the day after, which of course is Monday, Monday the 19th, the day after Tisha B'Av, is a relaxation of these semi-mourning restrictions of the 3 weeks. And the Frummers, after Tisha B'Av, they are free. They're free to go on holiday. So if you're a Stamford Hillnick, you will have your annual holiday with your family and your children only from next Monday. So for them, day after Tisha B'Av is Freedom Day. I think this is an astonishing coincidence.
Not coincidence.
Fiona says she doesn't believe in coincidence.
No, Swinburne didn't believe in coincidence.
That the day you can go on holiday in a state of greater freedom will be next Monday. As we've heard from the prophecy of Isaiah, Tisha B'Av was the date of the destruction of both temples, firstly by the Babylonians in the 6th century BCE, and then by the Romans, destroyed the second temple in the 1st century of the Christian era. The point about both these destructions is the follow-on was then exile. Babylonian exile, people were taken from their homeland and marched away further east, where they spent 2 or 3 generations, 70 years in Babylonian exile. Then after the Romans, after the destruction of the temple in the capital Jerusalem, that was beginning of another exile where Jews, the surviving Jews, spread all around the Mediterranean, then subsequently all around the Roman Empire. And they also returned eastwards and set up new communities in Babylonia in the east. So after the destruction of the Second Temple on Tisha B'Av, the beginning of that exile of Jewish communities in the Galut throughout the diaspora. So the rabbis, our later rabbis, later extended commemoration of Tisha B'Av to deal with tragedies, massacres, persecutions of Jewish communities all around the diaspora during the Middle Ages, mainly in the Ashkenazi world, France, Germany, and England. And as you know, the expulsion of the English Jews took place in 1290, around the summer, around Tisha B'Av. 1290, Jews of England returned to France, where their ancestors had originated from with the Norman invasion. But preceding this, 70 years before, was a synod, which means a meeting of bishops in Oxford in 1222. 1222, 799 years ago. So next year, 2022, will be the 800th anniversary of this Synod of Oxford. Why am I telling you about the Synod of Oxford 800 years ago? Because the English bishops passed a lot of serious anti-Jewish laws, which preceded the end. It was canon law, and as I say, it preceded the ultimate expulsion of the entire Jewish community of England in 1290. And this is weird because in the modern synod of the Church of England, which happened last week, they voted to commemorate the 800th anniversary of these laws in a formal act of repentance. So the Church of England will be formally saying sorry for their anti-Semitic laws that they passed 800 years ago. I'm not quite sure how I should feel about this, about commemorating and then repenting for what the church did against Jews 800 years ago in medieval England. Well, England was a pretty anti-Semitic place after the expulsion. You may know the blood libel, which suggests that Jews need to kill little Christian children to use their blood in cooking matzahs for Pesach. That blood libel was invented here in England, little St. Hugh of Lincoln and Norwich. It's good, I think, that people learn a bit of history, even medieval history so long ago. It's nice of the Church of England to recognize what they now regard as the errors of their forefathers, that these things are not swept under the carpet. And yes, I personally believe that people do need to learn history, even if they're not doing it for GCSE at university. We all need to know our history, a national history, a religious history, international history. We need an account of what happened in the past, which is true, accurate, and balanced. Because, of course, knowledge of history helps to ensure that prejudice, hostility will not happen again. And I'm not just talking now about anti-Semitism. And on a more positive note, I think it is to our glory and our merit that the Jewish people, 800 years later, we still have Jews. We still, well, sometimes we have synagogues, sometimes we have synagogue services in Zoom, but we certainly still have Sifrei Torah here in London, in England, 800 years later. So that's one in the eye for those English bishops of the Synod of Oxford. And the irony is that there are still lots and lots of people here in England who hate Jews. I devoutly wish, such people really feel they'd live in a better country if the Jews simply were not here or went away. It's important as Jews that we should take wise precautions to protect ourselves, protect our children, from violence and hatred and hostility. We have to be aware of our threats and take sensible defensive measures, including educating people about the truth. But we've also got to include ourselves. As Isaiah said in his prophecy, we look at our own behavior. We recognize that we also, as Jews, may hate or fear other peoples, other religions. We as Jews may also dream that they would just go away. Isaiah's message ends with a message of hope, that the Jewish people, the people of his own time, the Israelites, would return to good conduct, good ethics, good morals, and the values exemplified in our Torah. And Isaiah also emphasizes the primacy of moral and ethical behavior, care for the poor, the orphans, the widows, the primacy of our behavior to our neighbors over pure religious forms and rituals. So as we go into Tisha B'Av tonight, let's not forget the message ultimately is one of hope and forgiveness, that we and the world do indeed have a future. Now we'll conclude our service as always with Aleinu on page 520. Aleinu l'shaber l'adon ha'kol, l'achei k'dula l'yotze bereshit, asher sam chalkeinu yached et shemo, v'gol aleinu l'hamlich mahuto. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נותן שמיים ויוצר ארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בכל המרמים נו אלוהינו אלון, ומלכנו ופסולתו, כתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום השמות אלוהיך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים, השמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אלינו. Could I invite please Glenda or Julius to, or both of them to unmute and recite the second paragraph of Aleinu, please, trusting in you. Julius, you have to unmute. You're still muted. We can't hear you. Yes.
Hello?
Good.
Hello,
I'm trusting you. Well done.
Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, who in all will invoke your name, linkish in evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that in your every need, that you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. For you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit in your sovereign rule. May the time come soon and last forever. The ultimate sovereignty is yours, and for all eternity your reign glory, and it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Let's move down now to the second prayer, please. Thank you. As we worship before you, O God, we think of all those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love that continues to unite us with all our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those in sorrow and light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. We move down to Kaddish. Thank you. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivarach yivutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachonu v'yom echon, v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'emru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mavarach la'olam v'amei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithada v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei tekutcha barichu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram b'yalma v'emru amen. Yehi shalom Rabba min shemayim, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'emru amen. Osei shalom b'momar, v'yasei shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol b'nei Adam v'emru amen. I'd like to invite Ben now to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for leading the service this morning, and to Fiona for your logistical help. Things don't normally have to get the tour out of the Ark and undress it and so on all by yourself. So thank you for taking care of all of that. And thanks to Effie. I think it's his first time helping us with sort of streaming during the services. So welcome to the rota. Thanks for your help this morning as well. And apologies for me, I think there are a few slight sort of slip ups. I got distracted by something happening behind the scenes, but hopefully everyone was able to follow what was going on. So this week, coming up ahead, we have 11s every day from Monday to Friday at 11 o'clock. And then Nick has almost got a full scorecard. We've got something every other day apart from Wednesday. So just he's left himself with some slight room for improvements, but nearly there. So tonight, as David mentioned, it's the Tisha B'Av service, which is an eCamp service. It'll be led by Rabbi Richard and by Tali Artman and maybe some other rabbis from the eCamp synagogues as well. It'll begin with Havdalah, and then there'll be the service, and there'll be some study afterwards. I can mention that Rabbi Tali will be taking over from Larry Becker, who's retiring as a rabbi at Sakat Shalom, by the way. So she hasn't started officially yet, but that's why she's joining our eCamps group. Then tomorrow on Sunday at 2:30, we've got Knit and Natter, if you'd like to knit and chat. At 4 o'clock on Monday, Jude is leading the Puzzlers word game group. On Tuesday at 7:30, June Bradbury is giving another virtual tour of the Tate's Britain Gallery. She used to work there and she's picking a few of her favourite paintings and we're talking about them. She did it once before and it was very popular. Then on Thursday at 12:30, Rabbi David is doing a lunch and learn on Tisha B'Av about the medieval poetry of Tisha B'Av. So if you want to hear more about it, then come along there. On Shabbat of next week, on Friday night at 8 o'clock, Rabbi Richard is leading the service, and it will be the Ufra for Hannah Tate and Jeremy Levine. And then on the Saturday morning at 10:45, it's the Bat Mitzvah of Naomi Nathanson Parry, and that will be led by Richard as well as Naomi. And again, it'll be the hybrid service, so you can follow it on Zoom, but the family will be there in the synagogue. There's only space for them at the moment. But we're still very interested in people's views and how hybrid services are working. So if you're able to join us, then do get in contact afterwards and tell us what you feel worked and any different ideas. We're keen to make sure it works well for people who are there in person, but also people who are following it online. So do let us know. And then in due course, maybe we'll have regular Shabbats for anyone's able to go to the synagogue and we know it will work well for everyone. Shabbat Shalom, and have a good week.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you for doing the screen sharing so smoothly. And Effie as well. Thank you for streaming. Can I ask again, is Bess Solomon's with us? Can you hear us, Bess? Silence. Could unmute? You can sing a Don Alam? No? Okay, well, maybe Sharon, would you like to lead us in a Don Alam?
Okay. Adon Olam Hashem Alach B'terem Kol Yesin Nivra Li'ed Nasa V'ches Hakol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoeh v'hu yeh b'tifara V'hu echad v'yein sheni lecham shilo lahachbira v'li roshit v'li tachlit v'lo ha'od v'ha'misra V'hu Eli v'chai goli v'suchev li b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanos li manat kosi b'yom ekra B'yado rafkid ruchi b'yein tishan v'yaira v'im ruchi gaviyati Adonai li v'lo ira.
Thank you, Sharon. That was lovely. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless us with the threefold blessing of the Torah. May God bless us and keep us. May God look kindly upon us and be gracious to us. May God reach out to us all with tenderness and give us and the world peace. Yevalechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
If we move to page 566, 566. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
So call it Yom Shabbat because remember the Shabbat day as a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim and Shabbat shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Didn't say.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Thank
Shabbat
you,
shalom.
David. Thank you, Fiona. That was amazing to see the Torah. Glad we finally got our way.
Can I just say it's lovely to see David Tachauer from Israel. It's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, probably his second Shabbat morning service, but I'm delighted to see you again.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, and now I can see Rad and Kasia as well.
No, it's
everybody.
Nathaniel. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Kasia is there.
Shalom.
Shalom.
She's here.
Hi, Jan. Nice to see you both as well.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Where are you, Red? Are you in Finsbury Park?
Finsbury Park, exactly. You can recognise.
Next time, when you do the Torah, you can try changing the video so that it's the real